Mario's had his fair share of recurring antagonists over the years, but there's arguably no one stranger in his rogues gallery than Wario. Originally conceived as a simple palette-swapped rival of the Man in Red, Wario has shown off a surprising moral range for a character defined above all else by his insatiable greed. I'm Andrew with One Up Binge,
I'm a Wario.
and these are Wario's deeds, good to evil. So without further ado, let's start with the lesser of his good deeds and work our way up to his most heroic before descending down to his evil side. Pretty much all of Wario's good deeds are motivated by his selfish craving for treasure, and his battles against the Brown Sugar Pirates are no exception. In his first starring role in Super Mario Land 3, Wario pursues the pirates to their hideout on Kitchen Island to try and steal their giant golden statue of Princess Peach. Wario successfully pilfers the island's riches and destroys the home base of the pirates' leader, Captain Syrup, but Mario swipes the statue before Wario can claim it. That doesn't stop Syrup from setting her sights on Wario in retaliation, and in Wario Land 2, her pirates raid Wario's castle. Wario's not going to take that lying down, so he tracks Syrup back to her fortress and cleans her out once again. Standing up to marauding pirates would normally be a heroic act, but all this back and forth larceny just barely qualifies as a net positive in our books. Wario's greed is so deeply ingrained that he was out for an easy payday even as a baby. He helped the Yoshis and other baby characters in Yoshi's Island DS, joining them for part of their adventures. Yoshi comes across the cranky baby after being separated from the others, and Wario helps his new friend out with a magnet that can pull coins towards him as well as manipulate metal blocks and platforms. Baby Wario doesn't stick around for long, too hungry for coins to sit idly by in Yoshi's saddle, but he rejoins the good guys to battle Bowser at the end. He might only be after Bowser's treasure, but his heart's in the right place, we think. But, what does Wario plan to do with all that cash anyway? Possibly his most sound financial investment comes in the WarioWare series, where he founded his own video game company. He and his group of friends create a wide variety of microgames, racing to keep up to date with the latest tech and the hottest new trends. Wario's motives for his gaming ventures are never altruistic, of course, but WarioWare Inc. nonetheless comes up with a ton of fun concepts for its customers to enjoy, including a theme park and a video game tournament. Wario is also shown to care about his employees and to treat them as friends, although he's not above using them for cheap labor. He just wouldn't be Wario without that streak of petty villainy. It's a good thing the WarioWare crew can take their boss's selfish antics in stride, and they've learned how to guide him back on the right track whenever his greed gets the best of him. While Wario's money-grubbing schemes are as notorious as his love of garlic, there have been a few times when he's accidentally proven to be quite the hero in his own right. Wario Land 4 sees him setting out to steal the treasure from the legendary Golden Pyramid, where he eventually takes a leaf out of Mario's book and winds up saving its ruler, Princess Shokora. Guided through the pyramid's many passages by a mysterious black cat, Wario makes his way to the innermost reaches of the tomb and faces off against the sinister Golden Diva. It's upon defeating the Diva that the Black Cat is revealed to have been the pyramid's princess the entire time. Shokora thanks the dumbstruck Wario by gifting him all the treasure he'd looted from the pyramid before sending him on his way. He's just lucky that none of that treasure was cursed. Saving princesses is one thing to just stumble into, but saving an entire world is another. In Wario Land 3, our greedy protagonist finds himself earning his bronze medal of good by coming to the aid of a music box world after he's pulled inside the magical artifact. The clown demon inside the music box deceives Wario into collecting 5 smaller boxes that have kept him sealed inside. Wario carries out the deed in the hopes of acquiring riches, but once his supposed benefactor is summoned into the world, Wario decides that he is not on board with having the whole world taken over by a creepy clown. He trounces the demon and is then met by the grateful inhabitants of the music box, who'd been turned into monsters. They thank Wario for saving their land, and even allow their unlikely hero to keep all the treasures he collected inside. It's a good thing that everyone Wario ever helps just so happens to also be cool with him swiping all their valuables. Now, if Wario had a nickel for every time he'd been called on to save a tiny world inside a magical artifact, he'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. It's that second instance, though, that gives Wario his silver medal of good. Wario Land Shake It sends him inside an ancient globe on a quest to defeat the Shake King that's taken over and imprisoned the world's inhabitants. We're ranking this one higher than his adventure in the music box world because here, Wario actively chooses to enter the globe and rescue its people, goaded on by tales of a bottomless coin sack shared with him by one of the resident Merfolk as well as by his old rival Captain Syrup. Additionally, Wario doesn't just get to pocket all of his newfound riches for once. When he returns to the world outside the globe, Syrup enacts her plan and double-crosses her one-time ally. She swipes the bottomless coin bag for herself, leaving Wario to take out his frustrations on the poor merfolk who'd been helping him. Wario's wacky shrinking adventures don't always need ancient magic though. He builds a helmet that allows him to jump inside his own TV in Wario Master of Disguise, where he's once again roped into accidental heroism. We're awarding Wario his gold medal of good for the time he saves the world from the demon Tiramisu, whose villainous ambitions are the farthest reaching of any of his opponents yet. Much like the music box demon from Wario Land 3, Tiramisu initially dupes Wario into reassembling the source of her power by luring him with the promise of riches. Wario, predictably, does not take kindly to being lied to, and his battle with the demon sees her banished at last to an alternate dimension where she can no longer threaten the world. True to form, however, even at his most heroic, Wario's still only looking out for number one. And while he's showered in riches by his grateful allies once again, Wario's television hopping technology evidently doesn't work on money. How could Wario of all people have overlooked such a glaring flaw? But now we're going to switch gears and take a look at Wario's evil deeds, starting with the lesser evil and working our way down to the most evil. To start off our evil list, we've got something that doesn't sound all that different from Wario's more heroic outings. He allies with Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi to rescue Peach in Super Mario 64 DS, but is only doing so in order to get his hands on Peach's treasure. The Toads inside the castle are even aware of Wario's selfishness, but they realize they need all the help they can get. What distinguishes this greedy escapade from those in the good category, in our opinion, is that Wario should know better than to go after Peach. She's not a one-off character he's just met, but a longtime member of Mario's group of friends and associates. Think of how many parties and sporting events he's been invited to with her. Furthermore, Wario was added to the story of Super Mario 64 in the remake, tagging along with Luigi when Mario is invited over in the introduction. Rude and selfish though he may be, Wario still gets to join the others for cake in the ending. It seems that Mario and friends have gradually gotten used to channeling Wario's antics into a force of good. There's plenty to indicate that that wasn't always the case though in years past. In the Japan-only title Mario and Wario, Wario's out to get Mario and his friends lost. He flies around in his plane, dropping buckets and other objects on their heads to lead them stumbling blind through all sorts of dangerous stage hazards. Fortunately for Mario, Peach, and Yoshi, they're aided by a fairy named Wanda who can alter the terrain to ensure it's safe to cross. Wanda is also the one to fight back against Wario, taking a hammer to his plane after each stage. We're not even really sure what Wario's goal here is. He seems to want to keep the other characters from reuniting and finding their way to safety purely to be a jerk. While we're talking about Wario's more outright malicious moments, how about we add Grand Theft Go-Kart to his list of crimes? He makes his debut in the Mario Kart series with the second game, Mario Kart 64, conspicuously taking the place of Koopa Troopa from the SNES original. The magazine Nintendo Power relays a rumor that Wario may have borrowed his kart from the hapless Koopa, explaining the switch. Wario's just petty and mean-spirited enough to pull off such a heist, so we can accept this reason behind the roster change. Koopa does make a return in most future installments, so he's not left out of the fun for long, but we're still calling this a low blow on Wario's part. Of course, Mario's used to letting bygones be bygones with all of his enemies in the franchise's numerous other sports-themed spin-offs. That's why Wario allying with Bowser in Mario Power Tennis doesn't turn out to be all that big of a deal compared to some of the other stunts he's pulled. Wario and Waluigi team up with the King of the Koopas in order to get revenge after the Mario Brothers beat them in a round of tennis. The dastardly trio hijacked the final round of the tournament, firing bombs all over the stadium. The heroes successfully deflect the explosives, with their tennis rackets, naturally, and knock Bowser's blimp onto Wario and Waluigi. Mario might wave off the whole incident, but something tells us that Wario and his cohorts aren't going to be allowed to just walk away after endangering all those spectators and causing a bunch of property damage with those bombs. Menacing a tennis tournament is one thing, but it's a whole other matter when Wario's bullying ways see him taking over a forest and ousting all of its inhabitants. Surprisingly, it's Toad who takes the fight to the mustachioed villain in Wario's Woods, working with Birdo and one of the forest sprites to combat Wario's army of monsters in a sequence of Tetris-style puzzle games. Toad's also not afraid to take the big guy on all by himself. Wario's fate depends on whether you're playing the NES or SNES version of the game, but either way his plans are thwarted by the wily Toad. Wario should really have learned from his first attempt at menacing the good guys in the forest that the woods aren't free real estate. Admittedly though, Wario's loose grasp on the concept of personal property was a running theme back in his early days. In his first appearance ever, in Super Mario Land 2, Wario moves into Mario's castle while the hero is off saving Sarasaland. There, he scatters the 6 golden coins needed to open the front door throughout the land, locking Mario out of his own home and earning for himself the bronze medal of evil. After the plumber has gathered all the coins and stormed his way through his rival's army of monsters, the two face off in the throne room. Wario proves how much of a cowardly copycat he is by deploying his own versions of Mario's power-ups in battle, but it's not enough to win the day. Mario reclaims ownership of his castle, and Wario is left to slink away in defeat. It's not all bad news for him though, since after this, Wario would go on to steal the starring role in the Mario Land series for himself. Once a thief, always a thief. By the way, whatever happened to Mario's castle? Is it just like Wario's now, or did he sell it or something? They never explained that. Wario has an even more insidious theft planned in Dr. Mario 64, one that handily takes the silver medal of evil. He plots to steal the powerful mega vitamins that the plumber-turned-doctor is using to help his patients through a nasty flu season. Wario's latest get-rich-quick scheme is only foiled when the mega vitamins are stolen first by another doctor, Mad Science Stein. Wario is forced to team up with Dr. Mario in order to get them back, although this partnership does nothing to curb Wario's greedy plans. Even after they've tracked down their enemies and recovered the mega vitamins, Wario's still out for himself, and goes right back to chasing Mad Science Stein in an attempt to claim the medicine for himself. Now we know why we've never seen a Dr. Wario. This guy would have zero concern for his patients. Selfish hoarding of medicine during an epidemic is indeed despicable, but there's been one instance where Wario's total lack of morality or capacity to care about anyone else has endangered the entire universe. We're of course talking about his allegiance with the Subspace Army in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the easy pick for his gold medal of evil. Wario seems to be a rogue agent as he's never seen working directly with the leaders of the army, but he's absolutely ruthless in his assaults on the heroes. He carries with him a cannon that can transform the Smash fighters into trophies, a device he gleefully uses on one of the princesses, as well as on Ness and Luigi. Before he can claim his reward, however, they're stolen from him by King Dedede, and later, Lucas deals him a well-deserved beatdown for what Wario did to Ness. Near the end of the story, Wario begrudgingly joins up with the other fighters as they face the true villain of the Subspace Emissary. But as with all his other team-ups, we're certain that Wario's still only in it for himself. Mario and his friends truly understand that the only way they can ever keep Wario under control is by making sure they're all fighting on the same side.